Hello, everyone. Welcome to Newsroom Media. This is where we give you hot, fresh, and sizzling news all day long. Now, let's take a look at the headline. ECOWAS court awards 90 million naira in damages to Nigerian Airforce woman tortured, dismissed after superior officer raped her. Before I go into the details of today's news, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, or this is your first time here, please do well to subscribe. I know you like what you're listening to, so why not just subscribe? Subscribe. All right, thank you very much for subscribing. You're welcome to the community. Now let's go into the details of today's news. First of all, I am just so shocked by this headline. ECOWAS court awards 90 million naira in damages to Nigerian Air Force woman tortured, dismissed after superior officer raped her. So apparently a superior officer raped this female, the female member of Nigerian Air Force. She made a complaint, and she was being tortured. She was tortured and then dismissed for making a complaint. You can imagine, like, what's happening in this world? What's happening in Nigeria? To be specific, like, oh my gosh, this is not good at all. But at last, I'm happy that she's getting 90 million naira, a whooping 90 million naira. But I wish that this person in question that perpetrated this act will be jailed, imprisoned. Investigations will take place, and at the end of the day, it's going to, serve the right punishment that suits, the criminal act itself. Anyway, let's see what the news has for us this morning. The ECOWAS court has delivered judgment in a suit filed by an aircraft woman who was raped by a superior officer. That was a bit of a mouthful there. Flight Lieutenant B.S. Vibeko, and dismissed from the Nigerian Air Force after she lodged a complaint. The court awarded $200,000, that is 90 million naira, to the applicant, name withheld, on Friday, and mandated the Air Force to investigate and prosecute Vibeko for the rape of the victim. The applicant has accused one of her superiors, Vibeko, of drugging and raping her on May 17, 2011, sued him and the Air Force Chief of Air Force and Attorney General of the Federation for her unlawful dismissal. Until her illegal dismissal in 2015, the court held that the applicant was an aircraft woman in the Nigerian Air Force. She was enlisted into the Nigerian Air Force on October 15, 2010, with service number NAF 10 25 15 7F. She had put in over 5 years of active and meritorious service before her persistent victimization culminating in her dismissal. In a judgment delivered on Friday, Justice Dukbe Atoki, who read the judgment, described the applicant's experience as undeserving of a human being. She held that the brutal rape of the applicant is beastly and undeserving of a human being, and the failure of the Nigerian Air Force to investigate and punish its perpetrator is a show of impunity by the Air Force and the Nigerian authorities. The Nigerian Air Force and the Nigerian authorities are hereby ordered to arrest, investigate, and prosecute the perpetrator. What amount of money is enough to compensate a teenager gruesomely raped by her superiors on her way to womanhood? You can imagine, like, this world doesn't even favor women, we women at all, at all. You can imagine she was a virgin. Not only that she was being raped, she was also a virgin at the point where she was raped. You can imagine. And then she also, like, just getting that confidence to go and make a complaint. She went ahead to complain, and her complaint was being disregarded, and she was being tortured after that and was dismissed finally. You can imagine this. We cannot. What about other people that couldn't even go to court with their case? I'm just so tired of hearing this kind of news every day. Seeing such thing. We heard of a case of Baba Ijebu and priestess daughter trending online. If not because there was an evidence, people would say it was a lie, it didn't happen. Just to just to put the victim down. And at the end of the day, nobody will be talking about it in the next 1 year. It will just like disappear like that. And even the perpetrator of the act will not even go to prison and will be walking freely on the road. You can imagine this beast of a man needs to go to prison. He needs to go to prison. Not only should he pay the fine, he needs to go to prison and learn his lesson. Anyway, let's continue. The court further ordered that a dismissal be converted to retirement with attendant benefit. That's good. The court ordered that the applicants be paid $200,000, about 19 million naira, as compensation, and a report of compliance be submitted by the Nigerian authorities within 3 months of being served notice of judgment. The applicant was represented by a counsel, Marshal Abubakar. The applicant had narrated that she was sexually assaulted and brutally raped and disflowered by a superior officer in the Nigerian Airforce, one Flight Lieutenant B.S. Vibeko. Attached to the suit were medical reports confirming the rape and breach of her virginity. The applicant in the suit further narrated that she made a frantic effort to resist the rape, but the said Flight Lieutenant B.S. Vibeko overpowered her, hitting her head against the wall several times in the process, after which she eventually fainted while he had his way. The suit filed by her counsel further stated the applicant avails that subsequent upon the fact disposed to above on May 18, 2011, at about 1200 hours GMT, she woke up to find herself on admission at the Accident and Emergency Ward in 345 to 45 Aeromedical Hospital, Kaduna. The applicant further avails that as a result, her health suffered greatly, physically and in status, and she contracted several sexually transmitted infections, which resulted into chronic pelvic inflammatory disease, growing solid mass close to her uterus. The applicant further avails that resulting from the foregoing, she suffered constant intermittent fainting, severe discharge, chronic lower abdominal pains, dizziness, and swollen vulva. The applicant further avails that male superiors in the Nigerian Air Force, rather than investigate and melt out appropriate sanctions, subjected her to unprecedented intimidation, victimization, and threats to her life. The applicant avails that she was often locked up in the guardroom for no reason, placed on constant punishment duties, constantly accused and put through various degrees of punishment, imprisonment with hard labor, often dragged on the ground and beaten to the point of comatose while nude, with bristles all over her body. The applicant avails that she received severe death threats from several officers of the Nigerian Air Force who threatened to kill her for daring to expose an officer of the Nigerian Air Force for raping her. The applicant further avails that a regimental entry was made into her file stating that she should never be promoted with her colleagues up until her unlawful dismissal, which was dutifully carried out. The applicant avails that she cited the said regimental entry in the Personnel Management Group (PNG). According to her, from September 28, 2015 to October 1, 2015, she served various unjustifiable rifle punishments ordered by Squadron Leader Ilori, the OC Provost, for daring to report the rape incident. She said on October 1, 2015, She was diagnosed with severe high fever, upon which she was required to report to the hospital, but that squadron leader, Ilori, mandated her to stay on at the guard post. But she said shortly after she suffered severe dehydration, fainted, and had to be revived after a quick first aid treatment. But as soon as she opened her eyes around 8 p.m., she was ordered by her superiors to immediately go back to her duty post in line with the established military rule of obedience before complaint, she said. She narrated how she was also verbally and physically assaulted by one flight lieutenant, after which she was detained in a cell for 10 days without food. According to her, she was also later locked up by squadron leader Elijah and was subjected to severe beating, torture, degrading treatment in the cell. She also narrated how she regained consciousness in the hospital after one of the sessions of abuses she suffered, only to find that her hand had been cupped to the hospital bed. The applicant had medical reports and photographs of when she looked critically ill to support her claims before the court. Among other things sought from the court, the applicant had asked for a declaration for the dismissal of the applicant as a soldier in the Nigerian Airforce by the defendant without arraignment, prosecution, and sentence by a duly constituted court-martial is irregular, illegal, unlawful, null and void whatsoever as to the act of the defendant, therein constitutes a violation of the applicant's fundamental right to fair hearing as stated in the provisions of Section 32(1) of the Nigerian Constitution, Third Alteration Act, Article 7 of the African Chapter on Human and People's Rights, Article 810 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It sought an order of a court to compel the defendant, its agents, organs, servants, privies, and by whatever name called to pay over to the applicant a monthly salary and other allowances from the month such sum is last paid until the date judgment is enforced in this suit. It also sought an order directing the defendant, their agents, organs, privies, servants, or by whatever name called, to pay over the applicant the sum of $10 million, about 4.5 billion naira, only as general damages for the physical, psychological, and mental torture suffered by the applicant due to the various human rights violations she was subjected to by the defendant. An order of his honorable court compelling the defendant, its agents, organs, servants, privies, or by whatever name called, to pay over to the applicant the sum of $20 million, about 9 billion naira, only has aggravated and punitive damages that will serve as a deterrent to the defendant. An order of his honorable court directing the defendant to pay over to the applicant the sum of 500,000 naira, about 225 million, only being the solicitor's fees and other incidental costs. In order of his honorable court directing the defendant, its agents, organs, servants, privies, or by whatever name called, to immediately reinstate the applicant to the rank our contemporaries in the Nigerian Air Force currently occupies, the document stated. This news is coming to you from Newsroom Media. Thank you very much for always listening and watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel or this is your first time here, please do well to subscribe. Most importantly, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to also click on the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we post. We still have more great news coming your way today. Please stay with us.